I'd like to call the Hopkinton Town Council meeting of July 19th, 2021 to order with a silent meditation and a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. President, Councilor Hurst, I make a motion that we move the public forum to right after the consent agenda approval.
Mr. President, I second that.
Is there any discussion?
Council President, Bob Marvel here.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know the reason why that request is being made.
Well, I think it's well obvious that a lot of people are interested in the Harvey Buford situation, and the action of the town council is before the public forum, and that's why it's being done.
Mr. President, Councilor Gary, some of the feedback I got was some of the people would like to discuss some of the topics while they're going on, not at the end.
Okay, well, that's not, I mean, that's how our meetings are set up. I have no problem bumping it up. I mean, it's on the agenda anyway. The problem I have with bumping public forum on is if somebody decides they want to come in later, I mean, who typically, you know, they see all the stuff we have here and they probably buy themselves 30, 45 minutes. So I see it also as an opportunity for somebody not to.
Maybe we could, Mr. President, maybe we could just limit it to somebody like to speak to maybe 3 to 5 minutes in case we do have an abundance of people, which we probably might not.
I think the town council needs to get back to having two public forums, one in the beginning and one at the end. Thank you.
All right, well, that could be a discussion at another meeting, Scott, once it's on the agenda. Sharon, do you have any preference, any whatever? Bob, did you? I mean, I know it's at the end. I know it's whatever. I just don't see. I mean, we don't look like we have this crazy busy agenda. I mean,
I think the action, Mr. President, Councilor Hurst, is the fact that public forum is scheduled after boards and commissions, and people will want to say some things, and also they may have comments on other things. Thank you.
Steve?
yes, sure.
The
Sharon.
agenda under boards and commissions is not going to be changed by the public forum.
I think that Councilor Hurst, in response to that, I think that the town council has to listen to some of the things the public has to say, and I don't think this is a typical resignation. Thank you.
All right, so the public's not going to not be able to say anything, Scott. I know you're looking for this dramatic moment to happen, and I mean, I'm not sure that that's the case. So I'm not really sure that it matters when we have this public forum, when we discuss it. I am in favor of not moving it for that fact, and we move through and we be, you know, conscious of time, and we be conscious and diligent in our agenda here and move through it quickly and effectively. And that.
Mr. President, we have a motion that's been made and seconded. Please call a vote.
All in favor, please.
Hurst, aye.
Gary, aye.
Moffett, no.
Davis, no.
Marvel, no.
All right. Up first, we have the consent agenda. Approved town council meeting minutes of July 6th, 2021. Accept the following monthly financial activity report. Town clerk. Approve abatements to 2021 supplemental tax roll as a result of motor vehicle corrections and real property duplication errors submitted by tax assessor. Is there a motion to approve?
Steve, Bob Marvel here. I have one small change on the minutes. I don't know how we want to handle that. We want to just, do you want me to tell you what they are?
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay. On page 3 of the July 6th meeting minutes, where there's a reference to NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the spelling in the minutes is NOAH. It should be NOAA. And there's two places where they are. That's it.
Mr. President, Councilor Hurst,
Yes,
page 5, I think it's page 9, I think it's page 9, 5 down. Maxon's has an S in it, and that's a very small typo, but very significant family name, and actually, I believe I got Maxon ancestry, but it's, Maxon has an S in it. Thank you. That correction.
Oh, on the second line?
Yeah, Lisa, it's down to, it's under discussions, discussions read traffic situation, Chase Hill Road and Route 3. It's about halfway down where it says Maxon Street, Route 3, Maxon Hill.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Mr. President, I would move that the consent agenda be adopted without those corrections.
okay, is there a second?
Marvel, I
Do
second.
a second.
First, aye.
Marvel, aye.
Davis, aye.
And Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Up next, under old business, Potter Hill Dam. Update from Potter Hill Dam Information Committee. I'm also going to read, discuss and consider sending letter to Town of Wesley for in-person meeting regarding Potter Hill Dam. Do we have any Potter Hill, do we have a representative from the Potter Hill Dam Committee in the audience?
Mr. President, been trying to go to the meetings, and there's one tomorrow night. One of the things that really is in my mind that I think it should be, particularly on the westerly side, that, and I'd like to have Attorney Seipo look at it if we could, and that is specifically the use of eminent domain, the power of eminent domain, for public safety reasons because of the situation with the dam, the fish ladder, and probably more on the westerly side, but I would like to have some of his input on the public safety aspect and if eminent domain can be used to address some of the safety concerns in the area of the mill and the dam. Because I know, I'm not an expert, I have some knowledge of eminent domain, and it would seem that you could have possibly a legal basis, and I'm not an attorney, for eminent domain to make some corrections there on that property because it's a public safety issue. And I'd like to have Attorney Seipo look at that aspect of it for us, please.
Okay, so to continue discussion with the Potter Hill Dam Information Committee, I see Mr. Duxta's hand and Mr. Hale's hand. Lisa, can you correct me as to who the chairman of that committee is?
That would be Mr. Duxta.
Okay, so I'm going to defer to Mr. Duxta. Mr. Duxta, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Steve. I need to make one request before I proceed.
Please do.
We need to have Scott Bill Hurst move back from his microphone because it is actually blowing out my speakers to.
Is something wrong with my microphone?
No, just push it back a little bit.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
It's too loud.
Okay, I don't,
Just push it back a little bit. Push the whole thing back. There you go.
is my voice better now?
Somewhat. It's still very loud. All right, I'm going to ask to speak. I have to turn the volume up and down with that.
Okay, I've turned it away. Can you hear me now?
Is it too loud?
It's much better, Scott.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to speak on three parts tonight. What we've determined, our position, and our asks. I'm going to start with, we as a committee have determined that we need to have Scott mute out or something here. A lot of background noise. The Potter Hill Dam Committee has determined that the dam removal proposal that is in place right now will reduce the river depth 4.5 to 6 feet between the Potter Hill Dam and the Route 3 bridge. 3.5 to 4 feet from Route 3 to the Polly Coon Bridge, and 1.4 to 2.3 feet above the Polly Coon Bridge to the Bradford Dam. 52 acres of open water will be converted to marshy wetland, and 2,001 acres of wetlands will be dewatered. This is per an assessment by Decker in 2015. The forecasted depths in the presentation are only showing averages, and they do not take into account drought conditions, which could lower the river even more than the numbers stated. The proposed water level reduction could be a serious impact to the residents near the river with shallow wells. The cost for a driven well could be $12,500 to $20,000 or more. There was a well survey by the Southern Rhode Island Conservation District. However, many surveys were addressed to the wrong post office and also excluded many Hopkinton residents near the river. The concerns with this dam removal project are extremely time sensitive. As it is stated in the grant proposal, that the final, I'm going to have to pause here. It's very distracting with the background noise. Can we mute out the town hall? All right, thank you. The concerns of this dam removal project are extremely time sensitive. As it is stated in the grant, the final engineering, permitting, and construction will begin in October of this year. Public awareness regarding this project is very limited, and many of those who were aware of it did not understand the full extent of the impact, as I was discussing earlier with the 6-foot depth reduction. This committee is still gathering and reviewing information to understand more about this project that has been in progress for over 10 years. Our position, the Potter Hill Dam Information Committee is in full agreement that the Potter Hill Dam removal should utilize a design that will not reduce the river level to avoid impact to wells. We recommend that the Potter Hill Dam removal follows the same design as the Bradford and Kenyon Dam removals, which were large dam removals on the Pawcatuck River that did not reduce the water level. We recommend an approach using a design of the Bradford and Kenyon dam removals to eliminate any well impact, improve fish passage, remove the risk of dam failure, and have no loss of wildlife habitat. Our ask, we would like the Hopkinton Town Council of Hopkinton to engage on behalf of the residents of Hopkinton with the Westerly Town Manager and Project Manager for the removal of the Potter Hill Dam, and strongly advocate for our position to employ an approach using a dam removal design as employed for the Bradford and Kenyon dam removals, as that will, first, most importantly, have no impact on residents' well water, will improve the fish passage, will remove the risk of dam failure, will have no loss of wildlife habitat, We would also like to increase public awareness regarding the Potter Hill Dam removal project, and would like to consider some of the following means to inform and educate our Hopkinton residents. A town information webpage with links to the Wesley Potter Hill Dam Removal Project website, direct mailing of informational flyer, social media outreach, a robocall to residents, and to have a town contact be able to receive questions and address concerns for residents. And this would be via telephone or email. Thank you very much.
Hey, Mr. Duska, Councilor Geary.
Hello.
Hey, so pretty much, I could barely hear you, a little bit soft. So basically what you're saying is you would like to see the Potter Hill Dam modeled after the BDA on how they did that with granite and so on and so forth, right?
Exactly.
All right, thanks, sir.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Were you able to hear all the points I made?
Yeah, it's a little soft. There's some noise in the background. It could be just some back feed noise, but yeah, I'm on board with you, sir.
Okay.
Councilor Hurst, I'm just, a lot of thoughts have gone in my mind, but do you think it's likely to maintain the same depth
You have to build
if
it
you
up.
took the dam, modified the dam that currently exists, or not significantly reduce it?
Who are you asking?
Well, I'm asking the dam committee, do you think that it's a reasonable assumption that the depths of the river are not going to be appreciably lowered if they do what you suggest?
No.
We are asking for an approach that does not drop the level, such as the Kenyon Mill Dam removal and the Bradford Dam removal.
Yeah.
Mr. Duxta, this is Councilor Moffett. Based on that request that you want them to move forward with a construction that is more suitable to not lowering water levels, are you kind of assuming that they're going to completely move through with this, and that this is a course of action that is absolutely going to be taken, and we're just mitigating at this point, so that way residents aren't as affected?
So the current proposal is a full dam removal with a 6-foot river drop. We would like the town council to work with the town of Westerly project team and advocate for an approach that does not drop the river level. And those approaches were used in other places on the Pawcatuck River, and we would like to advocate for the same type of an approach, like Bradford Dam and Kenyon Mill Dam, where there was not a drop in the river level. Dam removals.
Excellent, thank you. I am on board with you with that, Mr. Duxta, for sure.
And the thing is that solution, if we proceed with the solution, it achieves what they're trying to seek. They're seeking to improve fish passage. And that's what they did at Bradford and Kenyon by those approaches. They're also seeking to remove the risk of a dam failure, and that would remove that risk. And it would also benefit in no loss of wildlife. As I mentioned, we've determined from researching the documents presented by this committee is from the dam removal committee is that there's going to be a 52-acre loss of open water on the Pawcatuck River in this section. And there'll be a 2,000-acre dewatering. 2,000 acres. And that is a substantial loss of habitat for our wildlife.
Excellent. Mr. Dux, I see Chip Hale's hand up. I just want to let him say something too.
Certainly, and I just want to let you know that Roger Perry is here with me in my home tonight.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Chip, you have your hand up? Just state your name for the record, please.
Hi, this is Chip Hale, member of the Powder Hill Dam Information Committee. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted a couple things that I want to just point out is the way the project community is viewing the change in wetlands is in the water level is really it is a change in habitat, but from their point of view, it's a change to an equally good or equally beneficial habitat. So we just we are trying to, as a committee, really try to make our decision or the information we're giving you guys based on the facts that we've been able to derive here. So the reason that we did go and the chairperson, Duxta, pointed this out, the reason that we went with or we're advocating for and pushing our town council to advocate for the Bradford Dam and Kenyon Mills was because based on everything that we've seen there has been very little change in water levels with that design. But to be perfectly, so you guys know all the information, the project committee, so that one's like, oh, well, that's the obvious decision, right? It doesn't have any downstream effects. It doesn't affect people as well. Why aren't they doing that? Well, they're saying they're not doing that route because it's a more expensive route than purely just taking down the Powder Hill Dam. They also state that there is still maintenance associated with the Bradford, at least I can't speak for the Kenyon Mill, but for the Bradford Dam, there is maintenance associated with that one in order to keep the fish passage open. So I'm just to give you, if you guys are going to engage with this project committee, you just need to be aware of why they're saying they're not going with that other option, and they're going to go with the just complete removal of the Powder Hill Dam. So the approach that we were thinking is like, okay, well, in my opinion, I've said this before, the Powder Hill Dam is coming down. That is the funding that Westerly has received from NOAA is to increase fish passage. The way that the most cost-effective way that they've determined that to happen is to remove Powder Hill Dam completely. All right, so that's probably like just a baseline fact here that we, I think as a town, need to kind of come to grips with. And so with that in mind, we need to think of how we mitigate the negative impacts on our community. And the like Chairperson Duxta said, the most serious impact is the potential loss of well water to some of our residents. And so that is the thing that I think, as a community, as a town council, we need to really be working on, because that has impact, that holds weight, right? So if you're then, and I hope you guys do, I hope you do engage with the project team, the weight that you're going to bring to this is saying you cannot do something that causes even one Hopkinton resident to lose their well water. You can't do something unless you're going to fix that. So the two options, as from the committee's mind, are you either drill new wells for everyone that's potentially impacted, which seems, based on the numbers that Chairperson Duxta pointed out, if you're talking even just roughly 100 people and that's roughly, let's say $20,000 a person, that's $2 million for their project budget. And so maybe the Bradford Dam design that seems to have not caused any water level changes, if that's less than $2 million, to do that design, $2 million more than what they've already budgeted, maybe that's the way to go. So that's what we're trying to do here, is say, look, we need to, the town's late to the game. We can't deny that. The other thing we can't deny is that this is It's private property. This dam is private property. It happens to be now in mastership. So the town of Westerly has the authority through that mastership agreement to conduct activities to protect the town's interests. Okay. Hopkinton does not have that, right? So, you know, when you guys go and talk to this project team or the town manager, and another thing to point out, as the last I heard, the town of Westerly has not agreed to this project yet. You know, the town council has not given a stamp of approval on this yet. So I think you guys need to have all of this information if you're going to try to engage with Westerly. In my mind, they don't have to talk to you. I hope they do, but I don't think that there's anything. They do have to share information with you guys because of the federal funding, but they do not need to listen to us. So this is really going to be a touchy subject to go to them and say, hey, you can't do something that's going to screw our town. And that water, the well water thing, to me, if I were going to, you know, plan this out, there are going to be public hearings at the Rhode Island DEM level to get the permits, and there are going to be public hearings at the Army Corps of Engineer level to get the permits for the construction design. And there are public comments associated with that. And I think, at least from the Army Corps of Engineers side, that there's actually a request for a hearing with them. And that would be, I think we should be trying to engage now, but we need to think of like the plan B and plan C. If we can't stop Westerly, we got to start voicing opinions about the negative impact. I mean, this is a health and safety issue, right? If we've taken away people's fresh water, there in Hopkinton, there are no other alternatives. And that's the angle that our town council needs to try to take. And I'm sorry to speak so much about this, but I really think that this is not a straightforward situation where you guys are just going to go and talk to the town of Westerly and they're going to be like, oh, thanks for your input, we're going to do something. We all know the backstory to this is they want to get rid of that mill property that's a thorn in their side. And this project isn't going to do that necessarily, but it's a way for them to step in that direction. And I don't blame them for doing that. I just don't think they should be doing that at the expense of Hopkinton residents. And I think that's your power right there, is be like, you cannot take our fresh water from people.
I'd like to comment, Councilor Hurst. I think the town council has a responsibility to the office we hold in the town of Hopkins. The Pawcatuck River historically is the boundary line between Westerly and Hopkinton. And the boundary is in the middle of that river. So Westerly or any government entity, whether it's the state or federal government, should recognize the territorial limits of both towns, both Westerly and Hopkinton. And that river impacts both towns. It's in both towns. And I would ask the solicitor to advise us on any legal rights we have. We've already seen the state ignore the town of Hopkinton in the past on this matter by just going to the town of Westerly. It's on maps, long known. It was when the town of Hopkinton was formed in 1757, the boundary line between Westerly and Hopkinton was the Pawcatuck River. And it's a historical fact, it's a legal fact. So I would ask our solicitor to advise us on any legal rights we have. I don't think we should yield things to the town of Westerly. That river is partially in Hopkinton and partially in Westerly, and that dam is.
But it's a private dam.
That river is the boundary.
Scott, it is private property, and you know that. So I would like to chime in here and just say this, that I am absolutely 100% in favor of engaging with the town of Westerly. What I would like to see is that this Potter Hill Dam Information Committee be in tandem with us here. You know, we kind of delegated them to get to the facts, to figure out, you know, obviously, you know, what their ask is, what their goal is, you know, and what their mitigation, you know, angles are and stuff like that. So You know, I want to have a meeting that is meaningful, that brings all those facts to the table. I don't want to go solo here with our town council here. I would really like to lean on, you know, the volunteers of this Potter Hill Dam Information Committee to really guide us in the direction that they think we should go when we engage with the town of Westerly. And I'm sure they're 100% more than willing to be there with us, you know, to add to what we have to say.
Steve, you have our full support as a committee, and we'll report back at the meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mr. Duxton, if you could, and Chip as well, if you guys could, I mean, I'm sure you have it listed, you know, maybe written out, because I would like some bullet points to hammer over to Wesley as far as, you know, why we want to have this meeting. We obviously want to invite, I mean, I don't want it just to be the town of Wesley. It probably shouldn't be the town of Wesley. Do you think, sir? It should be all the other players involved?
Yes, I do. There's a town manager that's leading this,
Yes.
and for the town, and they in the committee would be useful to meet with them. As far as the bullet points, the committee put together what I had mentioned as a statement. Those are in our minutes from last week.
Excellent.
On the 13th of July, and Lisa Cook Martin has distributed those for
Excellent.
everyone to review.
Thank you, sir.
Steve,
Yes, Sharon.
I just want to know, I know that they've been trying to update the survey, the well survey, and I'd just like to know how many people's wells, how many Hopkinton wells are going to be affected by this. So that when we ask for them to have to maybe replace those wells, that's last worst case scenario. I'd like to know how many wells are involved.
Sharon, this is Jim Duxta, and the committee has reached out to the Gina Fuller from the Southern Rhode Island Conservation District to understand about the surveys. And what we determined is when we reached out, they provided the list of who they sent it to. And when we reviewed it, we observed that some key areas were left out, such as French Village, Narragansett Way. And when we asked for how did they determine these places, there's a map that was provided by Fussin O'Neill that she needed to get permission to release to us. So we don't have that answer for how did they determine the impact area. It's an engineering map, we understand, but it hasn't been released to us.
Do you need the
just
town council to get involved in getting that to happen?
That would be good. I feel it would. We were also made aware of some concerns with the mailings for residents of Bradford that was sent to Westerly's post office, and some residents of Ashaway that was sent to the Hopkinton post office. So they're working to correct those, but they're asking for more time to August to be able to resolve that issue.
But to answer Sharon's question, I think the number that they provided was 70 or so. I think, is that right, Jim? I think it was in that order.
For the town of Hopkinton, yes.
Yeah.
And then we had Lisa Cook Martin, and she worked with the team to come up with another draft of a list, and that was about 170 just to start with. And Chip is going to continue on to work with the GIS mapping to determine what kind of impact lies along the river. We'll have more information to report on that in an upcoming session.
Okay, thank you.
And it certainly is important to know quantitatively the number of people impacted, and that will be, like Chairperson Duxtra pointed out, we need to know, we still don't know how the project team selected the people on their list. There's clearly been issues with the mailings, but it would be worth knowing, was it geology maps? We don't know that yet. We were thinking from a committee that, at least alerting people within, 2,000 feet of the river might be a worthwhile exercise, because really what we want to make sure of is if we can somehow convince the project team to address these well concerns, we want to make sure that nobody is left out, right? So there may be people in the list that we're looking for within that 2,000 feet. There may be a lot of people that aren't actually going to be impacted, but we want to ensure that anyone that is impacted, is on that list, that they're going to go out, do their due diligence, find the funding if that's what they need to do to give these people new wells, or even to just do the survey. It's going to be costly to examine these. We want to just make sure that everyone in Hopkinton is considered here, and I think that's really. I'm not saying that I don't mean to necessarily point out that we shouldn't be trying to fight this dam removal if that's what we think is best. I'm not necessarily on that page, but we're at the time is short now, and we need to really figure out what's the best move here, and trying to argue with them about removing this, we just might be spinning wheels. And really what we should be doing is trying to mitigate negative impacts to this town and prevent negative impacts from this town. And that's what the committee is trying to push here is everyone knows, I'm sure Scott and Mike know that I'm an environmentalist, and I will push for these things. However, I do recognize that the impact to our town and to people's well water, that to me, that has to take the priority here. We do not have municipal water for these people. What I mean, really, you change these people's well waters, we don't have a response for that, and that's a pretty serious issue. I don't care where you stand politically. Nobody. I'll tell you guys, none of you town councilors want to be the town councilor that lost people drinking water. So anyway, sorry.
Well, thank you, Chip, and thank you very much, Jim, for your time. I really appreciate you trying to fill us in and giving us a better feel for what we move forward and do.
Thank you, Steve. We meet each Tuesday and we file minutes from each meeting. We'll continue to work on this and have updates, and we'll be looking for your engagement on when you would like to meet. I would just like to repeat one salient fact here. Time is of the essence. This project is slated to go for final engineering, permitting, and construction beginning in October of this year.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Is there any other discussion amongst the council here regarding a letter? I'm in favor of drafting a letter engaging with the town of Wesley to the concerns of the residents of Hopkinton.
Steve, this is Councilor Gary. I'm on board with it.
I am too. This is Councilor Davis.
Councilor Marvel, I agree.
Excellent.
Councilor Hurst, I think we should meet with Wesley and get their sense.
Excellent. Lisa?
Yeah.
Is a letter there something that you and I can draft up together, or you think?
Yeah, we can work on it.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. So I don't think.
Should I make a motion to do that, or?
No, I don't need motion for it.
No, we don't
Listen,
need a motion.
consensus.
Sorry.
Consensus is fine, and we'll move forward with that. So as a council, we are in Bob, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you had to say. Did you say anything? You're in
Me?
favor of it?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, so we will move on, and Lisa and I will formulate a letter to send over to the town of Westerly. Okay, so up next, resume discussion on returning to in-person meetings continued from July 6th, 2021. All right, so I had this put back on the agenda. I just wanted it up there so we can just clear the air and just because the way that I see it is that next meeting, we're gonna go back to full-blown in-person meeting. That's how it's gonna be. If you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. We're gonna ask, I would like to ask unvaccinated people to wear a mask, please. But if they do not, that's their freedom, I guess. I'm not in favor.
Steve's counsel, Gary, all your plexiglass and looks like some of your distance stuff and all your sanitation and all that stuff is already set up here.
Perfect. Excellent. All right. I just didn't know if anybody else wanted to. I wanted to put it on the agenda so we could. Anybody had any questions, concerns, or comments regarding that?
Steve,
Yes, Sharon.
I thought that the way we left it before was that Brian and Jeff were working on seeing if they could do the hybrid method.
Yes, that was what do you call it? But for this next meeting, that's not going to be really an option until we get a better way of guaranteeing that we can give access to everybody, and we can come up with a plan to really work on that. I know Jeff and Brian are on it right now, and hopefully they're going to figure something out for us.
Okay.
Steve,
Yes.
this is Brian Rosso.
Yes, sir.
I asked Jeff to be on the meeting to address this and kind of just bring you guys up to speed. We've been working on this, on and off since we've last met and discussed this at the last council meeting, and we're just kind of troubleshooting just coming up with different issues that we keep running into, and we keep doing trial runs, and it's been pretty challenging, just because we don't have the proper equipment. We think we could get something put together so we could continue to have virtual participation, but as you can see just by tonight's meeting, it's going to come with challenges, and we'll probably encounter some issues along the way. So it's really your call, the council's call, whether you want to go back to in-person or attempt to do virtual participation. With that being said, we've been working with vendors, and we're trying to get someone in here to put a hybrid system in, but it's going to be a couple months, 2 to 3 months before that can happen. So in the meantime, again, it's your call whether we want to attempt to do it, but it's just going to be challenging with the audio, and I can let Jeff, are you on? Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on some of the challenges that we're facing, and maybe what the new system would offer?
Yeah, no problem. And I got to apologize for some of the challenges you guys are experiencing. As you can tell, sound is the biggest issue. The system we have today, it's a little bit old, and to convert from those older mics into digital to get it out to the internet is sometimes a little bit tough into the Zoom technology. The new platforms are 100% digital in today's world, like your phones and all the new systems that are out there. So what would happen is we'd have a couple cameras, one looking out at the audience, one looking at that podium. It would also catch you as the council, like what we're seeing today. But once again, if we have 5 or 6 people, we're looking at the back of one person's head if we're sitting down on the floor there. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So camera placement is key. But sound issues would go away because the new systems have such new technology when it comes to sound. Today, Councilor Hurst, with the sound being too high on your microphone, it's controlled inside the system. The system would pick up that your sound is coming across too high, and it would automatically back down the mic. Problem solved. So as far as the audience goes out there, if somebody comes in virtual over hybrid, anything they present would be up on 2 screens above your heads, and you would see it on a monitor as well. So the new technology is quite amazing. We're looking at it. We've seen 2 vendors already. Pricing is, of course, still being worked on. Third vendor coming in fairly soon. Then, I'll get it over to Brian for review, and we'll go from there. So a lot coming in the future, but the challenge is primarily audio, and you guys are experiencing that now. So.
And can I just add to that? I reached out to Charlestown and Richmond to see what they were doing. Richmond currently has a hybrid system in place, and Karen Pinch, the town manager of Richmond, she told me that they had tried what we're attempting to do or might attempt to do, and they had all sorts of issues. She actually said from their town council meetings, and the audio is just, it's very challenging for people to hear. As you can even see from tonight, using the mics, some people are really extremely loud, and some people you can barely hear. So they tried to do what we're thinking about doing, and they struggled, and now they don't have that problem because they have a hybrid system. Charlestown is not even going to attempt to do it. They're just going back to in person. I think they have the system in place, but they have their own concerns about doing hybrid meetings, so they're just going to go back to in person. If we do, a couple other questions I do have for the council that I just wanted to get out there as far as distancing for the council. When we go back to in person, I wanted to know, does the council want to have, we could have small plexiglass screens set up, similar to what we have there tonight, in between the councils if there was a high level of concern about COVID spreading and social distancing. The problem with that is that it's going to cause quite a glare in the virtual world or atmosphere, but in person it wouldn't be an issue. And I guess I'll leave it at that, and then see what you guys decide, and then maybe I have some more questions down the road, depending on your decision.
Well, Councilor Hurst, historically, the town council in past times has actually met in the schools, one of the elementary schools. If distancing is an issue, that problem would be solved. I'm in favor of in-person meetings. I think people want to see their elected officials, speak to them in person, and if the distancing or the town council chamber is a problem, then I suggest that we check the availability of the elementary schools for meetings. And that would be my solution. Thank you.
So to be clear, the council has to be in person. It's just a matter of if we want to have virtual participation. I think that's the main question, whether we want to attempt to do it with the technology we have today or hold off until we get better technology. But as of July 23rd, statewide public meetings have to be held in person.
Brian?
Yep.
Since we're not going, we cannot force everyone to wear a mask. I would like the plexiglass protection as much as possible. Okay, that's my comment.
That's not a problem.
Do you have a comment?
Yeah, this is Bob Marvel. So a question on that for the masks, is that the case where we cannot require everyone to wear a mask in the meeting?
Is that a question for me, Councilman Marvel?
I think so. I'm not sure, but I think so.
I think that might be a legal question that I think I know the answer, but I think I would lean on council for the answer to that. So I don't know if Steve has any input or if he wants to research that, but I guess I don't believe that we can. But Steve, do you have any input?
Brian, I think that'd be a better question probably for us to discuss tomorrow outside of the meeting.
Sure.
And then to formulate an answer.
Okay, thank you. My other point I wanted to make was I agree with Scott that, you know, we should consider having our meetings in a different venue, like the elementary schools or the middle school, where people can spread out and socially distance themselves. So I'd be very in favor of that.
Hey, Councilor Moffett, I agree with that. It is kind of tight in here, you know, with all the glare and all the, what the town manager is saying, I agree. You know, I don't want to get in everybody, then all you see is the back of someone's head, then like Jeff's saying, it might be in audio. Maybe we can try the school maybe 1 or 2 times, if it's possible to get the middle school, like some of us have gone to that. Maybe try that 1 or 2 times and see how it works. You know, if 5 people show up, you know, then we kind of can gauge where it's at. You know, I'm not sure if we can set up all the Zoom stuff at the school on that one. I don't know if that'd be a question for Jeff, but I would be in favor with Councilor Marvel that, yeah, probably a bad idea. Maybe the first couple ones to get everybody kind of back into the realm of things. Okay, hey, you're going to start seeing live people. Just a thought.
Yeah, I would. This is Jeff. I would have to look at the schools and determine, working with Brian probably, to determine if we could use their internet, if they have the platform, with the recording over the wire, and, you know, some work to do there.
Well, and Councilor Hurst, in the past, we've used the elementary schools. I know the Ashbury School. If we have a bigger meeting, we would go to like the middle school and that, but unless we have a real hearing on a controversial topic, normally we wouldn't have a super big crowd. I mean, it's tough to predict, but even if we had a crowd of 30, and I don't know if it would ever be that high in coming months, but we might have 20 or 25. You don't know how many people have been wanting to come to a meeting in person, particularly a lot of older people who aren't technologically savvy would probably want to do that. But I would check the elementary schools as in the middle school. I mean, you just have to you know, consider how many people you think would show up.
This is Councilor Moffett. I'm definitely in favor of a situation like that. My question, I think Lisa may be the right person. Lisa, that's obviously something that you have to schedule with the schools and then find out if they're even going to allow that. And then B, is there a cost associated like that?
We have to
This
post
is
it too,
Lisa.
right?
So number one, I'd have to reach out to the school district and find out which school would be available. It sounds like more is involved, as far as Jeff would have to investigate also to see what infrastructure that they have. At this point, I don't know if they would charge us, but they may consider it if we are going to now just use their school. There is competition for their activities, and their activities, you know, usually should come first over what the town would want. So we may be doing a lot of adjusting to that. With our previous meetings that we've had at the schools, we've had to have the IT person set up all of the equipment ahead of time, and then someone, usually it was me, has to take it all down, pack it back up, and bring it back. So it's complicated, and it's a lot of work.
Council, this is Brian Ross. I think the question really lies with whether we want to do virtual participation, because if there's virtual participation, I don't think the attendance is going to be what it would be if it's strictly in person. So I don't think we're going to have a problem with crowding if we do virtual participation. If we go to strictly in person, yes, then everybody's going to have to be in the building, and we would probably need a bigger venue. But I think we really need to start there, as whether or not we want to go to strictly in person or try to continue with virtual participation. I think if we answer that question, it'll help us with the others.
All right. So this is kind of where I'm at with it, Brian. I think I mean, obviously, at this moment, I mean, we have challenges when it comes to doing it virtually and in person at the same time. So with that being said, I mean, I 100% do not want to lose track of the virtual aspect of it. I would entertain the idea of us like simulcasting the meeting, telecast, like just having it on a Zoom to be observed in real time. As a possibility in the meantime, for those who want to see it in, in real time. So, and then we just have to work on getting that virtual participation format. I mean, we don't have to have hearings virtually, but having a town council meeting where, we're hearing comments from the public might be simple, but if we have to do a hearing where we're presenting documents and looking at maps or anything like that, then we are definitely not equipped to do anything like that. But if we could, keep it to the simplest form, person meeting, at least showing the meeting on Zoom for those who want to sign in to Zoom, maybe without a forum option, but for those who want to see it in real time, I think that might help. You get what I'm saying, Brian?
Yes, and that would be, I know that would be a lot easier if it was in our town council chambers, because that we're prepared to stream. I think we'd have to ask Jeff, but I think it'd be like a YouTube live stream type of situation. Whereas if we're going to, if we're bouncing around to different schools in Charahoe, that creates other challenges, because now we got to coordinate with their tech, and Jeff's got to go out there and set everything up in advance, make sure they have the technology there to do the recording live stream. So and Jeff, maybe you could speak to this, but it seems like it would be not a problem at all to do at the council chambers. But if we start bouncing around to different venues, then it creates a challenge with getting the video and audio to do the live streaming.
Yeah, sorry, excuse me. Yes, if we can stay to council chambers, significantly easier than if we had to move to a school or to some other type of setting.
So, I mean, at this point, our next meeting is in person. I mean, that's just where we're at with it at the town council chambers. I mean, I don't know if we want to just kind of, cover our bases and maybe still put out feelers to see what options we have out there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we should absolutely have Lisa reach out to Charahoe, and then we can have their IT director talk with Jeff to see what options we have. Sure. And I can report back to the council and see if that's a possibility.
That works. And I mean, I'm in favor, if Councilor Davis wants some plexiglass up in her area there, I mean, I'm fine with that too. I think that's completely fine, because we want also people in the audience to feel comfortable being there too. It's just not all about us. So we want people to be there. We want people to, we want to make sure they're going to be safe as well. And that's just, I think, given.
Hey, Steve, isn't there a time frame if we were going to do this? We have to let the public know, we have to post it.
For what, Mike? I'm sorry.
If say we were going to go to Charahoe or something like that, isn't there like a lead time or something like that where we have to post it, say, hey, the meeting is not going to be at town chambers tonight, it's going to be at the school, to get it out to the public?
Well, we would just post the agenda 48 business hours before the meeting. So if they were to check the agenda, it would be listed on the agenda that it's been changed to a different site.
Sounds good.
And we could put an announcement up on Facebook and the town website as well to make sure people are aware.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we should still encourage mask wearing. I mean, we should, you know what I mean? I mean, I think that's fair, to at least encourage it. I mean, think that's. All right, so are we fine with this discussion? Our next meeting is going to be in person. We're all good to go. Not going to worry about the virtual format at this point.
I'm fine, whatever you decide.
I'm fine with it. I think we all know there's going to be some, excuse me, we all know there's going to be a little bit of growing pains trying to get back into it, but I think we'll be fine.
I agree.
All right.
Yeah, I agree too, as long as we can ensure that the public can either attend if they're comfortable enough or somehow attend virtually and either at least watch it.
All right, so with that being said, up next, we're going to have a discussion on implementing policy for open meetings and code of ethics training for boards and commissions. That's under old business. Do we?
Council, this is Brian Rosso. This was kind of something I thought of
Okay.
just after conversations I've had with the council or heard the council have rather, and I just thought it might be a good idea. And I think Attorney Seipol agrees that this would be a good thing for town employees, boards and commissions, everybody affiliated with the town to really be comfortable and familiar with the Open Meetings Act. And it's just another layer of protection for the town, knowing that we've given that training and made it available. And I think it's just us doing our due diligence, making it available to everyone, so they have access to it on our town website. And then if we wanted to take it a step farther, if the council wanted to make it a mandatory thing for new members or whatever your comfort level is with that, I just wanted it to be an option at least for people to have access to it and to be familiar with it, just to protect the town.
Councilman Hurst, I would like to suggest that we have 2 public forums, but we also have rules, like most public bodies, in written form about the length of time people can speak and things of that nature. And if the council as majority feels that somebody should have more time, it should be granted. You might have somebody who has special expertise, but a lot of times you can have a situation where you would have somebody who will dominate a meeting for 15 or 20 minutes, and you can't have everybody do that. So just throw out like 5 minutes. Normally, we don't have a lot of people at public forum, but if it ever was a hot topic, and you could always be flexible, and the council makes a motion to let somebody have an additional 3 minutes or whatever, and do something along that lines. I'm just throwing that out as an idea, as a starting point.
All right, well, this is a policy regarding for like open meeting laws and code of ethics for our boards and commissions.
Well, I mean, it's about
Have a discussion.
implementing policy for open meeting. If you're having a policy, it's not necessarily a law, it's rules that a body, whether it's Congress or the General Assembly, adopts for the conduct of that meeting. It's not necessarily a law, it's a rule. But I would say, as far as the ethics for boards and commissions, I would like to have somebody from the Rhode Island Ethics Commission conduct that. Somebody that's removed from the local town that works for the ethics commission.
Okay, thanks for your input, Scott. Is there anybody else?
Well, Mr. President, if I could, this
Please.
is an issue that Mr. Rosso and I have been discussing, and I think that it would be a good idea to implement something as far as like a minimum required training of some sort for current board and commission members, and then any new board and commission members. And I would leave that to the discretion of the council as to how burdensome that might be, or how extensive that might be. But I think that there should be something in place, and if the Attorney General or the Ethics Commission were to ever come to investigate anything, that we'd be able to produce evidence that everybody on our boards and all our commissions have all received some type of minimum training on these issues, and that could range from having folks from the Attorney General and Ethics Commission put on a presentation like we had recently. Board and commission members could be given copies of the Open Meetings Act and the Code of Ethics and be asked to sign off that they've read and understood them. There are a variety of different steps that could be taken, and I thought it would be good to have a discussion, or for the council to have a discussion, because I know that you don't want to make anything that's too overly burdensome, that's off-putting to people that volunteer their time, but this is also something that would be important to protect, not just the town but the individual volunteers, because I don't think that a lot of people realize that the Ethics Commission and the Attorney General's office can come after individual people for violations, and not just the town or not just a board or a commission. But individual people can be held accountable, fined, investigated if there are complaints filed against them. And so to protect the individuals and the town, I think it would be important for us to be able to, present something showing that there had been an effort made to have these, especially the Code of Ethics and the Open Meetings Act, some type of mandatory training and evidence that everyone had participated in that.
Thank you, Steve. I am for having some sort of policy, whether it be for new members, to have it, when they are, selected for a board or a committee, and maybe, whether or not we, start with a clean slate and have everybody do it. I know some have already done it, so I don't know how we, kind of keep track of that. But with that being said, I think a policy would be important. I think definitely for new members, and we should at least have links set up for these boards and commission people to reach out. So I don't know how that policy would be written. Not sure if that's a policy that maybe you and Brian could present, and we could, something simple, and we could, yay or nay it. I don't know if that's
right. I could work with Brian to come up with a suggestion. I did want to involve the council, because it's a fine line between protecting the town and then imposing a burden on people.
Sure.
That is too much.
right.
And I want to I want the council to approve whatever the policy is and to strike the right balance with that.
Sure. I'm in favor with producing something like that. That is, like you said, not too burdensome, but at the same time will allow those members to feel comfortable in engaging.
I thought something as simple as everyone gets a copy of the Open Meetings Act and the Code of Ethics and just sign off that it was provided to you and that you reviewed it.
Perfect.
And something as simple as that would be a good thing to have to protect, everyone involved.
Sure. No, I agree.
And that doesn't involve having to sit through a training, Zoom meeting or it doesn't take a lot of time. It can be done at your convenience. And I think that's not too burdensome, but I think it would do the trick of showing that, that training and that information had been provided.
I completely agree with that, and I think for some people it'll definitely be an eye opener taking a look at those and just seeing how tedious sometimes those. There's a lot of unassuming things that you take for granted. So I'm on board. Do we have a consensus with the council that this is something that we should?
Yeah, it's Councilor Gary. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Maybe it's, like Attorney Seipel said, maybe a handout package and, just get a signature sheet back saying, hey, you've been briefed on this, and forward, and that kind of protects the individual, kind of protects us down the road, But I think if we sit there and make somebody say, okay, it's mandatory to watch 8 hours of this, you're not going to get that person to volunteer. I think a very simple, kind of like a welcome aboard, or here's your package, please read it, come back, and like I said, with a signature page, and we go from there, but it probably wouldn't hurt.
I think ethics is very important, and I don't have a problem with having people sign that they read it, because I know people at some places of employment, you're supposed to understand ethics, but ethics is really pretty much simple. If you are an official who does the yearly financial statement for the Ethics Commission, they will explain what the conflicts are. You're supposed to vote on something that benefits financially a spouse or a business associate in certain degrees of relationship. You can appoint, I found this out years ago, you can vote to appoint a spouse to a board or commission. That's not a conflict because it's unpaid. But, so that, a lot of people might think it's a conflict, but legally it's not. But it always pays to contact the Ethics Commission. You can call them, they're very helpful, and just have the mindset, even if you think it's okay, it's always good to call the Ethics Commission and just run it by them. Because they're the ones that enforce all these rules.
Thank you, Scott.
This is Steve, Bob Marvel here.
Yes, sir.
I think that, I think the training that we took for the ethics and the open meetings, I think each was an hour maybe. That's not too terrible, but I understand, people's time constraints and so forth. It would be nice if, the Ethics Commission had a, half hour, video or something that they could, people could watch at their leisure. I don't know if they have that, probably not. For me, working in a corporation, I have to take ethics training every year. And it's the same thing every year, but I have to take it every year. So, I'm kind of used to it. But yeah, I think the very least, we have to provide them with the rules and regulations and have them sign off that they understand it. But I think some sort of training that we can offer to them on a yearly basis would be good too, to reinforce that.
Great. Yes, Sharon.
I agree with Bob Marvel that they should be given something to sign off every year.
Excellent. All right, so it sounds like Brian and Steve will try to do something, and we'll take a look at it when they're done. Thank you. Okay, up next we have new business. Number 1, discuss, consider, and possibly vote to adjust off uncollectible taxes for tax years 2009 through 2010, a total amount of $38,217.29 submitted by the tax collector.
Mr. President, Councilor Hurst, I make a motion that this be adopted. Thank you.
I second. This is Councilor Davis.
Any discussion?
Yeah, Councilor Gary, I'm not sure why we're going so far back. I guess my question is, why is this all of a sudden coming up? It's 2021. This is 2010.
So, Council, I can speak to that. And I also asked Mary Lynn Caswell to be on the call as well. This is actually a state law. And if we can unmute Mary Lynn.
Yep.
It's actually, she's on Dave Caswell's Zoom. I think she'll be able to explain further.
Give me 1 second. Yep, she should. She can just. 1 second.
Steve, are you able to unmute her, or does she
Yeah,
need
she
to?
should be unmuted.
Are they-
Yes, yep, she's all set.
Go ahead, Mary.
She should be all set.
Mary Lynn, you're muted.
Hold on.
There you go.
Gotcha. All right, I'm here. Hello?
Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, so yeah, so there's this law on the books now that we can't collect anything that's 10 years or back. So usually what we do is the beginning of the new fiscal year, I just go back 10 years and I can write off that year. And that's what we're doing. So everything prior to 2010 has already been written off. I can't collect it, so I keep it on the books.
And that's governed by state law.
That is correct.
Anything else, Council Geary?
No, no, thank you there, Council Moffett. No, I was just curious, just curious, want to make sure before we vote on it, I understood it, and I understand it now, and I want to thank Mary for, Mrs. Caswell for getting on with this. Thank you.
Councilor Hurst, this has been done ever since I can remember, that taxes way back are like forgiven or eliminated, and this isn't really a new practice. It's been going on, I don't know how long, but so it's not out of the ordinary.
Excellent, thank you. So with that being said, have a motion, we have a second. Do we have, all in favor?
Hurst, aye.
Gary, aye.
Marvel, aye.
And Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Up next, new business. Discuss and consider repositioning the statue honoring Polish veterans located at Polish Park. This was brought to the agenda by Councilor Davis.
Yes. Kelly Sullivan, representing the families of the men listed on Hopkinton's Polish-American World War II Veteran Monument, has spent the past 4 years trying to have the monument placed in a position of honor in our town. When the monument was finally placed in Polish Park, it was placed facing inward into the park rather than outward facing Mechanic Street. When Kelly contacted me in 2017 to request that the monument be around, I forwarded her request to the town authorities and was met with opposition. However, I did not forget her request. Therefore, it is with great pleasure tonight that I make a motion that the town council officially vote to have our Department of Public Works turn the monument around so that it is facing Mechanic Street. All of the Hopkinton residents can truly honor the World War II Polish-American veterans who fought and risked their lives for our country and Hopkins.
Do I have a second or any discussion?
I'll second that. Councilor Hurst, second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have, and Councilor Hurst seconded it. So all in favor?
Hurst, aye.
Gary, aye.
Marvel, aye.
Davis, aye.
Moffat, aye. Excellent. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, up next, we have the discuss, consider, this is under boards and commissions. Discuss, consider, and possibly vote to accept the resignation of Harvey Buford from the Conservation Commission.
Steve, it's Bob Marvel.
Yes, Bob.
I just wanted to, before we get into a discussion, I just wanted to take a moment to thank Mr. Buford for his many years of service to the town and to say that it's really unfortunate that he's decided to resign. I would have preferred that he remain in his role, but I respect his decision and wish him the best in his future endeavors.
Thank you, Bob.
Councilor Hurst, I'll be voting against accepting the resignation. First of all, I don't think anybody can seriously take away anything from Harvey Buford in his decades of service to the town of Hopkinton. And A lot of things are not really easily said or are dealt with, and you're certainly limited when you serve on a town council. But my concern is town government itself. Sitting on a town council multiple terms, it's very tough to get volunteers to serve on boards and commissions. And I'm really concerned about the possible resignation of others from the Conservation Commission. So I'm going to be voting against that, and I plan to also vote against posting the Conservation Commission vacancy after that. And that's all I have to say at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. This is Councilor Moffett. I would like to echo Mr. Marvel's comments. It is definitely regretful that Mr. Buford has chosen to resign. I would have liked to have seen him continue. And that's all I have to say on the matter. Are there any other comments? Yes, Sharon.
Yes, I'd like to echo your and Bob Marvel's comments. Harvey has worked very hard for the town of Hopkinton, and I am sorry that he has decided to resign.
Thank you. All right.
So,
Right.
Steve, Bob Marvel here.
Yes, sir.
Just a question. Is there a precedent for not accepting a resignation? And what happens if that's the case?
Well, Councilor Hurst, if you go by law, that when you take your oath of office, you're in office until another is engaged in your room. So I don't believe that, and I'll be corrected by lawyers, that there is no legal obligation for a government body to accept a resignation. Because if that was true, we wouldn't even need a motion to accept a resignation. And the oath of office is very clear. You serve until your discharge, you serve until you end your term, or your discharge therefrom, and it's right on your certificate when you take an oath to be on the town council or any other board. It's right on the bottom of the sheet. Thank you.
All right, not hearing any other discussion. Do I have a motion to accept the resignation of Harvey Buford, Conservation Commission?
Are you calling for a vote now?
Yeah, I haven't heard any more discussion.
Has anybody made a motion yet?
No?
No.
I make a motion that the Hopkinton Town Council decline to accept the resignation of Harvey Buford from the Conservation Commission. I make that a motion.
Councilor Geary, I second that.
So the motion is to deny accepting the resignation?
Decline to accept the resignation of Harvey Buford from the Conservation Commission.
Is there any discussion on that, or we want to just take it to a vote?
I think Councilor Hurst, I think my
All
sentiment.
right, all in favor?
Hurst, aye.
Geary, aye.
Moffett, no.
Davis, no.
Marvel, I abstain.
Motion fails.
Okay, so the motion doesn't fail and it's in the negative. How does that work?
Would just suggest that someone
Make
make
a motion
a
to
new
the
motion.
contrary.
I make a motion to accept Harvey Buford's resignation. This is Councilor Davis.
I second.
Point of information to the solicitor. Can the council president make a motion or second a motion?
Typically, the chair does not, but I don't see any reason why he can't second a motion.
All right, all in favor?
So this is Bob again. I just want for discussion, I'm really struggling with this because I would prefer that Harvey stay in his role. But I don't know, his personal feelings if he really doesn't want to stay in the role. I don't want to go against his personal feelings, but like I said, I would really prefer that he stay in his role. So
I would say, Councilor Hurst, Harvey Buford has had the back of this town for decades, and I think it would be a good gesture for this town council to have his back. Thank you.
if that's truly what he wants.
Well, the only thing I would add is that you can't have him serve on a commission against his will, and if he wants to resign, you can't force him to continue in a position he doesn't want to be in. And I won't say anything more than that.
Councilor Hurst, and I'm not going to belabor the issue, I think this resignation is not a typical resignation, and for obvious reasons, I won't elaborate. Thank you.
So I'm not really sure where this is headed.
I think you have to go for the vote. We have a first and a second.
Right. So I have a first and a second. All in favor of accepting Mr. Buford's resignation?
Davis, aye.
Moffett, aye.
Marvel, I'm going to abstain again.
Geary, no.
Yes, the motion fails.
I don't think that we're doing the Conservation Commission any favors by putting them in a position where they don't know who the chairman is and they don't know who the members are right now. I would encourage the council to make a decision.
Councilor Hurst, I would respectfully suggest that I believe there's a serious possibility that we could lose other members on the Conservation Commission. So this is a very ticklish situation, and I won't elaborate more than that. Thank you. Mr. President, I move that this be tabled to the next meeting of the Hopkinton Town Council.
There you go.
For what reason, Scott?
What?
For what reason?
For obvious reasons that we don't have a clear majority on this town council, and so I don't think 2 weeks are going to make probably that much difference. But I make a motion that we table it to the next meeting of the Hopkinton Town Council, and I make that a motion.
This is Bob Marvel here. Can I add to that request a request that we be able to meet with Harvey in executive session to discuss what his wishes are?
Mr. President, in the spirit of cooperation, I will add that to my motion that we table it to the next meeting and we request an executive session with Mr. Buford. And hopefully Mr. Marvel will second that.
Councilor Seipel, did you have something to comment on?
Well, I don't have the Open Meetings Act open in front of me right now. I don't know if there is an executive session exception that would allow us to have a meeting of that nature, because to ask someone if they are sure they really want to resign, I don't know if that's really a topic for an executive session. I think that he could probably just put something in writing to the council to express what his intentions are.
He already has.
I can't answer off the top of my head if that's even a possibility to have an executive session with that meeting.
Councilor Hurst, I tried to be practical, considering the division on the town council, that we table it to the next meeting and, but,
Matt, do you have otherwise information regarding Harvey, whether he does not want to resign or not? I mean, are we resigning to take a stand against those you disagree with, Scott, or in principle, or, I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I think,
well, first of all,
the man
let me say, I
wrote a
think-
letter to us stating that he wanted to resign and the reasons why. I mean, I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean?
Counselor Hurst, been involved in this town for many years. I've known Mr.
You
Buford.
said that 10,000 times, Scott.
I think that I'm going to vote against accepting this resignation, and I tried to be practical, and I think it's in the best interest of the town of Hopkinton, and I will be either judged by that or scorned, whatever the case may be. But I think we know this is not a typical resignation. Thank you.
How is it not typical, Scott? I mean, discussion's still open. It's not typical?
I think.
What is a typical resignation? If you could explain that, please.
I think that statement in the background that we all know that exists doesn't make, this is not a typical resignation. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Letter read as a typical resignation to me. So that's how I stand. I don't know. I'm going to have to, I mean, we want to kick it down the road 2 more weeks. I mean, I'm in complete disagreement with that, but I mean, if you want to make a motion and vote on it and it doesn't go that way, it doesn't go that way.
I'll withdraw my previous motion if, I don't think anybody seconded it. I don't think Councilman, I make a motion that we table this until the first meeting in August. And I make that a motion.
Council Geary, I second that.
All in favor, unless there's any discussion?
Hurst, aye.
Geary, aye.
Marvel, no.
Moffett, no. Karen, are you there?
I voted.
Oh, you did? What? I didn't hear it.
I said Davis, no.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have a vote in a second on accepting the resignation? Did we vote on that already?
Yes, you.
I believe we voted.
So, all right.
Can I make that motion again? A second time, that after some of this discussion, that we accept Mr. Buford's resignation with regret.
I second that motion.
All in favor of accepting Mr. Buford's resignation with regret?
Marvel, aye, with regret.
Davis, aye, with regret.
And Moffat, aye, with regret.
Count the no votes, please.
Geary, no.
Hurst, no.
All right, motion passes. We have accepted the resignation of Mr. Harvey Buford. Up next, number 2, discuss and consider posting the Conservation Commission vacancy. Is there any discussion?
Make a motion that we post the Conservation Commission vacancy.
Is there a second?
Marvel, I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All the no votes, please.
Yeah, I'm
All in favor of posting the Conservation Commission vacancy?
Davis, aye.
Moffat,
Geary,
aye.
aye.
Hurst, no.
That motion passes. The Conservation Commission vacancy will be posted. Up next, public forum. If you are in the public and you are on a telephone, *9 to raise your hand, please.
Good point. Good.
I will call you in the order in which your hand is raised. Up next, I believe it's Joe. Joe, could you state your name for the record, please?
Hi, this is Joe Moreau. I read Hobby's letter that he sent to the council. I knew he was devoted to our town as a volunteer, but I never realized how much time he devoted to the Conservation Commission and the Land Trust and many other things. I also was amazed at how much money the town received through grants that Javi and others worked on, and I certainly appreciate that. I don't have all the facts, but in my opinion, I believe some people were digging for information to use against Javi for some time now. It seems like he had no other choice but to resign. I'm disappointed that the public could not comment before the council discussion. The next topic I want to mention is, I have a question about the new PSES. I noticed a few days ago there was a new notice about the PSES on our website. I read it twice, and maybe I missed it twice, but I did not see anything about a work schedule. As you know, I listened to all of the workshops, and I mentioned a few times my recommendation about having a work schedule of Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and no weekends. I also know that Carolyn Light, as well as others, talked about that work schedule and brought up the point. In fact, Attorney Hogan mentioned at the zoning board appeal, mentioned my name and Carolyn Light's name about a work schedule. At one of the last workshops, I asked if someone was keeping a list of all these changes, because I haven't seen anything written about the work schedule listed on the proposed PSES. I believe it was Bob Marvel who said he was keeping a list. Is there a defined work schedule on the adopted PSES dated April 19th, 21? Does anyone know for a fact whether it's on there or it's not on there, please?
Joe, this is Steve Moffett. To my knowledge, it is not. I know it was brought up for discussion, but it was not added as a consensus with the council, as far as my knowledge and my notes. I know it was a discussion. I know it was very important, and whether it didn't get added because we didn't bring it up at the right time. But I know that it was mentioned. I do remember you mentioning it, and I do remember talking about it, but not adding it to the actual.
Okay, is it too late at this point to add that? Because I know there's a lot of people that are concerned about this, and as I said, if you listen to the zoning meeting that was discussed this last week, the people at Maxon Hill, what they've gone through, because we didn't have a defined work schedule. So I don't know how, when it's mentioned at workshops several times, how, and I made a point of asking about this, and I was told, the person was keeping a list. It was on the list, but yet it didn't make it from that list. So is it too late to add it?
At this point, it wouldn't have been voted on, Joe. So what we'll have to do is we'll maybe have to have a discussion with Mr. Site process. Bring it before the council again, potentially.
I'm sorry, Steve, I couldn't hear you. You were broken up. You said have a discussion.
No, I said, well, in regards to your question about too late to adding it, that we've already passed that ordinance. So we would have to go and put it back in. That's what we would have to do if that is.
Okay.
Mr. President, if I could, just to let Mr. Moreau know, I did follow up with the attorney for the Skolkos to check on this issue about the work hours you brought to our attention, and he also did not believe that had been included in the final version that was enacted.
Thank you, Attorney Seifel.
That would require an amendment at this point.
Okay, so I'm not sure how the process would be, but I would hope that you would consider that, because that, not only my opinion, but others, is a very, very important factor. When I was at Maxon Hill at 6:30 in the morning on a weekend, and a diesel fuel truck is backing up with that loud noise, that's all the residents could hear. So I do think it's a very important, but I'm not going to belabor that. The main reason why I wanted to speak tonight, and then I added some other things, and I've sent some emails about this. There were 24 flags on telephone poles between Spring Street and our town line near the ball fields. These flags were purchased in 2017 and paid for by former town councilor David Husband. The cost was a little over $1,300. David Caswell was kind enough to provide me with this information. The current flags were in really bad shape. They were faded, they were torn. In my opinion, it is disrespectful to display flags in that condition. I have 2 flags in my home. Sometimes I replace them twice a year because of the issues that I just mentioned. These flags were put up prior to Memorial Day each year and removed after Labor Day. This September will be 20 years since the tragic events of 9/11/01. I was speaking with Jason Teft the other day, and I mentioned about the flags. The next day, Jason called me and said that he and his wife, Meg, would purchase the flags with one condition, that the new flags have to be up as soon as possible prior to 9/11 and be removed after Columbus Day. This is not the first time that Meg and Jason have stepped up for our town. I remember a couple of years ago at a town council meeting, Sylvia Thompson was late, and when she came in for the meeting, she apologized and said that an older resident had called about a tree that had fallen on his home. She made a call to Jason. Jason went up there, took care of the tree, took care of the problem, and did not charge the resident. Jason also has offered to pay up to $1,000 towards an employee appreciation day. I'm sure that there's been other occasions where Meg and Jason have helped residents that I am not aware of. I'd like to say thank you to Meg and Jason for the generosity in helping others in their time of need. I believe that we should have something on our next agenda about their kind donation. The other thing is, I don't know at this point, and I'm looking for some help, how to proceed with the flags. I spoke to Fire Chief Justin Lee today at the Hope Valley Fire Station, and I was discussing with him 9/11 and what they will be doing. There will be a parade because the Memorial Day parade was canceled. There will also be a 30-second fire alarm at 8:46 a.m. and at 9:03 a.m., which is the time that both of the towers were struck. It's also on a Saturday, so I'm not sure if there's been any discussion with the town about what the plans are for 9/11, with it being on a Saturday. Will there be someone responsible to lower the flags? Will there be information on our websites about the parade? Will there be something in memory of those lost, etc.? I would be willing to help out in any way to make sure that we do something for this tragic occasion. I'm not in a position to take the lead on this, but when I spoke to Jason, I told him I would call him tomorrow. He's ready to order the flags. I saw David Caswell, and he said that once those flags came in, if it was approved by the town council or the town manager, that they would certainly work to install those flags. So I'm looking for some help on how we can move quickly, because I'm assuming that there's going to be a delay in getting flags with the 20-year of 9/11 also. So we need to rush pretty quickly on this. And I just think it would be a shame if we don't do something to recognize this. So I'm just looking for authorization to tell Jason Teft tonight from the council to go ahead and order those flags. And that's all I have to say, and I'll wait for your answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I'm not really sure how to
You're
answer
welcome.
to that. Brian, do you have anything to add to that? Or how?
No, I don't think it requires a vote or any on the council's by the council. I think we can authorize the funding and purchase the flags, and either have Mr. Teff reimburse the town, or if he wants to just buy them outright, we can certainly get Public Works. Dave already mentioned that they'd be willing to go put the new flags up. So I don't see any reason why we would need council approval to do something like that. So I think we can just handle it internally and get the new flags and get them up.
Okay, so my next question would be, I mean, 24 flags, that doesn't mean we have 24 flagpoles, right? We've got, those are just extras and,
Just when I spoke to David about it, they took down the flagpoles and the flags. So we do have the majority of the flagpoles. There may be some that are damaged. And I think what Jason wants to do, and I agree with him and Meg, they're really concerned about getting this done in a timely fashion. So they are willing to purchase the flags as of tomorrow. They will order the flags. And as long as we have the approval that the highway DPW will install the flags, that's what we're trying to do this as soon as possible.
thank you, Joe. Well,
You're welcome.
I mean, I have no problem with any resident who's willing to, do this for the town. I'm fine with that. I don't know if there's any, but I think it's a good idea. So without any objection, I'm going to ask Brian to facilitate that if
Sure thing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. Up next, if your phone number ends in 2759, you have the floor. *6 to unmute yourself. Thank you. And just state your name for the record, please. Hello, just state your name for the record, please.
Hello, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Frank Landolfi, 3 Elizabeth Court, Hope Valley.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. I just want to mention 4 items. I know Joe Morrow had mentioned on, Jason Teff, there was one item I think that Joe may have forgot to mention. Jason did contribute $1,000 to the Affordable Housing Partnership during a budget session at least a year or 2 ago. I forget when it was. And that's number 1. Number 2, I do think the public forum, like Joe had mentioned, should be at the top of the agenda where the substantive items are that you're going to be weighing in on and deciding on. It's for obvious reasons. Having it at the end does no service for the residents. It's number 2. Number 3, Joe had also mentioned this about the Harvey resignation. It's pretty clear to me. I've been in government, so I was for 10 years, and it was very clear from the onset that when the new council took over, that Scott was replaced on the Land Trust and Conservation as liaison. It was very clear as to what was going on. And after reading Harvey's letter that he was kind enough to share with me, it's obvious that he was forced out. Lastly, I want to comment on the vote you folks took on that Polish monument. In typical Councilor Davis fashion, she forgot to leave a lot of details out of that discussion. I was personally involved with the relocation of that monument back to Polish Park. Mr. Gilligan sold his house near Locustville Pond, wanted it out of there. It got moved back to Polish Park, where it actually originated from, and the monument faces the park. So if you go to visit the park, you can actually read the names on the monument in the park. If you face it towards the road, you're not going to be able to read it. And when you go down Mechanic Street, the numbers and the names of those veterans, you can't even read. Aside from it being potentially dangerous to try and stop and read it on Mechanic Street going around the corner back, down to Charahoe. And secondly, that monument is not, the town does not own that. The Gordon Green Post does. And typically, I referred Sharon Davis's concerns along with Kelly Sullivan's concerns about moving and positioning that monument to the owner of the monument. The town doesn't own it. So if the Gordon Green Post says it's okay to reposition, they should check with the owner, not with Kelly Sullivan. She's not the owner of that monument. So that was the important point that I wanted to make before you folks rendered that decision. She does not own that monument, neither does Sharon Davis or anyone else, other than the Gordon Green Post. they're the ones you should have checked with. Again, typical, let's just put it on the agenda and get a vote on it because it helps somebody in the public. But I'll tell you, I'll let the Gordon Green Post know what happened, and then, you know, the damage is already done, but it can always be undone, I guess, at some point in the future. But, you know, you folks should have done a little bit of due diligence and not just listen to Councilor Davis on this, because she left out a lot of facts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, Bob Marvel.
Yes, Bob.
I want to make a statement before we have any other additional public comments, because I think I see a trend here. There's going to be a lot of comments about Mr. Buford being forced out. I just want to make it clear that is completely it's completely untrue. He was not forced out. He has resigned of his own free will. As I said before, it's unfortunate that he resigned, but he did resign of his own free will. And that's it. Any information that people think they have to the contrary is wrong.
And I would like to add that I agree with you, Bob. It was absolutely of his own free will. Thank you. Up next, Miss O'Leary, if you could just state your name for the record, please.
Deborah O'Leary, 44 Pleasant View Drive, and also the Secretary of the Conservation Commission. Can you hear me, Steve?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. I am going to comment on Harvey's resignation. I've known Harvey, I've been on the commission with Harvey for almost 10 years now. He's a man of high integrity and cares deeply not only about this town, but the environment in which we all live. I think that he has been sold short. And some of the things that have happened recently, where we have been a target of some legal wranglings, really turned him off to serving. How would you expect someone to continue to serve when they are being constantly made uncomfortable? And that, I'm using that word kindly. I think that in the future, if you're going to make new members and propose new members to the Conservation Commission, I suggest you talk to all of us first, because we need people who are going to show up. We have a new member who, unfortunately, because of all of this technology that we've had to deal with in getting to have an actual meeting, has only been to a couple of meetings. And there is a learning curve when it comes to the Conservation Commission. And our professor is leaving. I suggest you all take a deep breath and realize the damage that has been done to this town. And Mr. Marvel, I suggest you ask for a reassignment. Thank you.
Up next, Miss Lampier, if you could just state your name for the record, please.
My name is Lydia Lanfear. I'm a member of the Conservation Commission for about the last 6 years. And I'm also going to be resigning this evening, and I'll send y'all a letter stating that, just because of the treatment of Harvey Buford and the inability for the Conservation Commission to function properly without his guidance and knowledge that has been gained over the last 30 years. I'm sad to have to do it, but I know that we cannot be effective without Harvey and his leadership. And it's a massive loss for the town, and it's a massive loss for, as Deb said, our local environment and the environment at large. So I will say that I wish I didn't have to do this, and I wish I didn't feel this strongly about it. And I also agree with Deb that Bob Marvel should probably be reassigned. Thank you.
This is Councilor Moffitt. I'm going to add to those comments because it is on the lines of nothing on the agenda tonight. And there is so much misinformation and assuming
Oh,
happening.
don't use that term with me, Martha. Don't use that term.
Well, I'm going to use it. And I just, like Bob and I said, we absolutely regret that Harvey resigned. And that's all I'm going to add to it. I'm just saying there's a lot of misinformation, and it's just absolutely crazy. This is why people don't want to be a part of this town, committees and stuff, is because of this typical, what's it called? It's horrible. It's what it is. If you're not, in with all these people, it turns into a complete crap show, and people just want to point fingers. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. People need to look in the mirror. I look in the mirror every single day. I have 5 kids that I have to live up to, okay? And I look them in the face every single day. I think it's ridiculous. All this assuming is absolutely 100% ridiculous. Mr. Buford did not need to resign. He chose to.
No, he didn't.
He chose to resign. We offered to have him sit down and talk with us, and he chose not to. He didn't want to, and that's it.
Because he no longer trusts you, Martha.
Correct. That's exactly what it is. It's a level of distrust that's unfortunate and sad. And we all look at ourselves in the mirror because we volunteer out of a love for where we live and a love for the town that we chose to live in and purchase homes in. So we want to be represented equally, and we would like to have had the legal representation that Harvey requested so we could understand greater what Mr. Marvel was saying that we were doing incorrectly, and we never got that. So we're not doing this out of spite or to be nasty, because we did this because we care for this town, and we care for the people of this town, and we care for the geography of this town. But being, in effect, impotent, no one wants to continue on a board in that manner. At least I don't.
To the record, I use Miss O'Leary. I didn't call you O'Leary. So calling me Moffett is 100% disrespectful. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I apologize, Mr. Moffett.
Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Mr. President, Councilman Hurst, I move we adjourn.
Council Gary, second.
All in favor?
Hurst, aye.
Davis,
Marvel,
aye.
aye.
Okay, motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.